Welcome to the face mask and respirator world markets discussion this afternoon. It is almost unprecedented to hear the latest reports, which is the coronavirus is different from other viruses in that victims can be asymptomatic for up to 7 days, and they can be communicating viruses through the air for that entire period. So we're facing a situation that seems counter even to the advice that's being given by the various health authorities, which is that a mask doesn't really help the individual who is trying to be protected against the virus because that's not the way it's being spread. We're now finding that that may just be true of other viruses, but not of the coronavirus. And if that's the case, it completely upends the mask and respirator market as we know it. So the McElvain Company has a report. We've been actually following the mask and respirator along with everything to do with air filter media for 30 or 40 years. And this is one of the areas where we do provide insights. So this report is available, and it's being radically transformed, as we said, by this virus. And the report is being expanded to provide the latest forecasts on both the mass and the media for the use in the pandemic as well as, of course, to all the other applications. So long-range aspects such as excess supply of meltblowns or alternatively a pandemic which keeps reoccurring are continually going to be assessed. We're also assessing the science and technology because the market is a function of which products are necessary, just as we were talking about a minute ago about the potential of the asymptomatic, healthy, relatively healthy looking individuals communicating the viruses through the air. So the McElvain Company has been involved in a number of accelerated studies, one of which was just after the Gulf oil spill when it helped NASA and the dissolved oxygen analyzer suppliers determine which instrument type was best suited for the underwater drones that would determine the extent of the oil spill. This report has monthly updates plus frequent alerts. It also includes client briefings and webinars. The full report covers all the markets, not just healthcare and personal, but all the applications such as the food industry, mining, foundry, cement, refining, paint booths, and others where protective masks are necessary to protect for the worker as well as to protect the product. The service covers an analysis of the suppliers, of the supply chain, of the technology of all the different industries, and then has market forecasts for all of these. The markets are determined by the choices made by individuals relative to safety, cost, and comfort. The choices are influenced by the application. Each decision tree is pollinated by the others. The most accurate market forecasting takes into account the whole pollination process. The coronavirus adds a new decision tree based on emotion rather than logic, although from what we were just learning today, maybe there's more logic than emotion in individuals that will feel safer with a respirator type protection, even in non-threatening environments. But this decision tree pollination system represented is here shows, on the left-hand side, all the decision factors of comfort, cost, safety, and for the industrial, first responder, healthcare, and personal. And it's pollinated by the mask wearers, by those involved in safety and quality assurance, staff in corporate, and certainly distributors who are in retail outlets. Sales of masks and respirators are forecasted through 2024 with the following segmentation. Geographically, 80 countries and subregions. Then it's aggregated into 10 regions, then aggregated into 3 global groups, quasi-continents, and then a total world forecast. It's also segmented by product, including media by type and mask by type and respirator by type for each application. And healthcare masks are segmented into the N95, N99, and disposable medical, and separate forecasts for the media are provided. So the strength of the McIlvaine Company is we're involved in all these different applications, from residential and commercial, for water and air and other media, and we're involved in all these different industries. And so we are concerned about and following the gloves and apparel and all sorts of things for every pharmaceutical and semiconductor worker. And we track the number of semiconductors workers who are wearing masks and gloves and so forth. And you can see here, it's a couple 100,000 of them. And then we segment those by each country and region. And here we are for the food industry with 120,000 workers wearing masks. Here it is segmented by the regions that I alluded to previously here. And then here it is food workers segmented by individual countries. So market answers are provided for media and mask suppliers. How large is the market in each application and country, present and future, again up through 2024? How big will government stockpiles be in the future? There is a lack of adequate stockpiles now, and there's going to be a surge of orders just for that purpose. Who will be the key decision makers, governmental organization, and individuals? How much fluctuation in price will occur between times of high demand and lower demand? Will media companies be able to keep up with the needs of the market? Will countries impose import or export restrictions on media or masks? They're already doing so. Is this going to continue? To what extent will purchasers buy the lowest true cost product rather than the one best advertised? Who will be the major competitors for each product in each region? What are the routes to market with the retail distributor and OEMs and so forth here? A continuing pricing analysis is necessary. For example, the price of melt-blown non-woven fabric in the last month has been surging from around 12,000 won, which is $1,726 per ton, up to astronomical levels of 700,000 won per ton on February 24th. The pricing of all the various other media and products is also necessary. And for instance, for SMS laminates and needle felts, and one version of a 3-layer non-woven fabric has a hydrophobic spun-bonded polypropylene non-woven fabric outer fabric. In other cases, some manufacturers will construct the outer layer from a hydrophilic spun-bonded polypropylene, which incorporates fabric post-treatment with a chemical finish, and the objective being to absorb and spread a splash across a wide surface of the outer layer, allowing the melt-blown non-woven material inner layer of the mask to capture bacteria before it can reach the wearer. Uh, we continue here with more details. You can read these PowerPoints of the type of detail we have to get into in order to do the pricing analysis. I'm going to move on to the monthly demand and supply analysis. We've got a situation, for instance, where Sinopec, which is one of the largest petrochemical companies in the world, uh, took it upon itself to get into the mask assembly business. So they're providing the resin, they're providing the melt blown non-wovens, and then they're actually working with assembly manufacturers to produce the masks. And over on the right hand side, you see here, Sinopec went from 0 to 6 million masks a day uh, in a matter of just a few weeks. And in a few weeks more, they expect to be up to 18 million masks per day. There is a world supply of roughly 120 million masks now, and China is uh, producing 100 million masks. So still got a very large percentage of the supply in China. Potentially, and again, what we were talking about earlier with the threat of the virus being transmitted through the air and individuals having to wear respirators. One study showed that 533 million Chinese would probably want to be wearing these respirators. So, the demands would be astronomical. I mean, this 5 billion world number would be a good percentage of all the people in the world. We're not going to be reaching those numbers. But again, there's something somewhere in between is where the actual results will occur, and we have to be following that on a continuing basis. The application information matched with the media capabilities. So the use of disposable medical masks is designed to minimize contagion by the wearer and has to be distinguished from the N95 design, of course. Where is it appropriate for each design to be used? Again, if some of this more recent information turns out to be widely applicable, it changes all these questions. But then you've also got the emotional factor. To what extent will emotion drive and expand the market? How often should the mask be replaced? If you're talking about viruses, and if you were to get anywhere close to clean room protocol, say, or hospital protocol, where you have to dispose of masks every time you've encountered a contamination situation, you're talking multiple masks a day for many individuals. And what changes can be made to improve comfort and safety? How can masks best be designed for removal without contamination? And how effective are spun bonded, the SMS laminates, fibers, and electrostatically charged media such as needle felts and other non-wovens? The analysis is provided for each major supplier, including revenues and product offerings. And here we have an example for Superior Felt, which has a variety of media, including needle punched and melt blown materials. And so each one of these is going to be analyzed. So this is all part of the masks and respirators world market. It's a $4,900 service, and with the continuing updates and alerts. Here, for instance, is the update for March 12th. So the demand is greater than the supply, and here's the table of contents for the update. And again, we went into some of the things that we also just talked about in the PowerPoint presentation, which is matching demand and supply, and whether or not they're going to be excess demand. And World Health Organization assesses the present mask shortage. So you've got some short run needs, which are pretty substantial. And this shortage is actually causing controversy among countries. A number of countries have announced export bans on both the masks and the non-woven melt blowns. The getting your arms around all the detailed information is a continuing process. And as you can see here, we're reporting the various different figures, some of which contradict each other. But the fact that the U.S. has only 1% of the 3.5 billion masks it needs is interesting. And then here's an example that we're pursuing on a monthly basis of exactly what people like Sinopec are doing, where each of these lines are, how much they're producing, and then getting into other suppliers. Two Chinese car companies, large car companies, have decided to produce masks and disinfectants to help the motorists and the public ward off the coronavirus. So here's some details on both of those plants. Here's some more information on the supply versus demand, and the getting down into the weeds, so to speak, with how much is being produced by each of the melt-blown non-woven suppliers here is part of the monthly analysis. And again, back into the pricing. We also are working to determine and get guidance from the various different associations. ASHRAE and the suppliers all are our fountain of information on all this. And here is some information on the ASHRAE guidance. Johnson Controls was impressively engaged in helping to set up a hospital with all the protection in just a few weeks. Medline is encountering supply problems. Monodoc has a range of medical face mask media. Here's an interesting situation. You've got the Secure Mask Supply Association, which was formed a decade or so ago for the very reason that there might be a pandemic such as now, and the Chinese media manufacturers would not be able or not willing to deliver the masks to the U.S. since they needed them for themselves. And of course, this has occurred. And so this association certainly will come into possibly more prominence now, even though they were not making a dent earlier. So again, going through the individual companies like Superior Felt and Filtration, SWM is another player that is both the media and the films. And that shows you what's in one of these monthly updates. So this is the bulk of what we're providing as initial information about the report. This is Bob McElvain talking, and I would be glad to provide additional discussions, additional information for you be happy to talk to you. And you can reach me at 847-226-2391. And I'd be happy to give you further information about the report and the monthly updates, webinars, and client briefings that we're conducting. So thank you.